Welcome to the Savage Productions YouTube channel.
How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the Savage Productions YouTube channel. Today we're in the shop working on this 427 Fox Body Mustang project that we have going on here. Some of you all may remember one of my last videos that I made. I was just kind of talking about this project and detailing it. I showed you the engine. I'll go ahead and turn the camera around and show you the engine again. But inside of this plastic here is the 427 that we're putting in. Going to have to do a little bit of modifications to it to make it work properly with this application. It's going to need different valve covers. We already put a different water pump on it, but we got a couple more things that we have to get for this, and it'll be ready to throw over here into the red Fox body. I got the brake lines done. We pretty much deleted the proportioning valve there because we're going to put an adjustable one up there on that coupler instead. Because this is going to have the Cobra brake kit. It already has the Cobra brakes, brake lines, but it's going to have a Cobra brake kit. And then we also have those QA1 caster camber plates up there. Those look really good. In the last video, we actually took out the rear end and went ahead and cleaned it up a little bit today. Just kind of grinded it down, got all the rust off, and we painted it up a little bit. We're going to be putting a new cover on, so don't worry about that. Just now touching up the spots where it was sitting on these the jack stands here. But we're going to get this thing thrown back in the car. Pretty sure we're just going to reuse the stock springs. We have shocks and new lower control arms. Well, new lower and upper control arms put into this thing. We're not going to be able to really adjust the pinion angle and all that stuff, obviously, because there's no engine and drivetrain in it with a drive shaft, but that'll be coming soon because in this same video we're actually going to be dropping this engine in. So we're going to get closer and closer to actually getting this project done. I want to give you a quick little update on what we have going on here. So Dad went ahead and installed the torque box reinforcement brackets. As you can see, he's got them coming through the floor and welded up. Not the prettiest of welds because our welder is terrible, but got that welded in there. There's also plates in here, but this is all done, and then we just kind of re-sprayed down here with this gray primer. Once the owner gets it back, I think he's going to actually have it completely undercoated, so we don't have to worry about doing that.
Yeah, but that's a sealed primer.
Oh yeah,
It's actually the same stuff that they use when they painted these cars back in the day. They painted them. The bottom half was actually primered with a sealer primer, so they didn't have to paint over the primer.
Huh.
So he just wanted us to kind of go back to that same deal.
Gotcha.
And you don't really have to paint this. It's already sealed and everything, just like paint would be.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well,
pretty cool.
Well, we're not going to do the whole thing because he didn't want us to.
Yeah, really, the rest of it's great. It
Yeah.
just had a little bit of surface rust going on there.
Right. He wanted to take care of the rust. But here's the brake lines. I don't remember if I've covered that yet, but we have the brake lines ran. There's only one brake line that runs back here, and it splits at the rear end, but all of that is done. So yeah, we're going to be getting this rear end up in the car today, or tonight. It's kind of late in the day on a Saturday. We were working on some of the other projects today. Got videos coming out with Nick's car, that Fox body. This guy picking up the engine on it, or from it on Monday, so that's going to be coming soon. And you all probably just saw a video on this come out on my channel earlier. So you might have seen this on the channel already, but the brand of control arm that we're going with is White Line. The reason why we chose these is because they're polyurethane and they're really nice quality, but they're actually really cheap. And this guy's not going to be doing a whole bunch of drag racing. He said he might take the car down the strip a couple times or something like that, but it's not going to do, he's not going to be just a wild drag racer. So these will be a nice all-around control arm. There's no adjustability to at least the uppers. I'm not sure if the lowers have any adjustability or not, but we'll get those out here in a bit and see. We had to cut off the bolts on the lowers that when we did the work on the rear end today because they were seized up into the factory bushings. But we have these bolts. Dad's over there searching in our spare bolt bin for more. But we're going to go ahead and get these just kind of hanging up in here. Go ahead and put the shocks in here, and then we'll get the rear end up in here. On today's episode of Savage Performance's non-billable hours, somebody stripped out the freaking threads on the top of this shock here, and we had to retap it. So we lost a little bit of time.
But that's okay. When we just got the right tools to do it.
Yeah.
Fix it right.
Well, this thing's ready to go up in there now. All right. And if we did everything right, then it should stay there when we lower this. Look at that.
Look at that.
So in case you're wondering, yeah, there's no springs in it right now. We're going to go ahead and check on prices on new springs. All the rest of the components are brand new. These springs are not really in bad shape, but we're going to check on the price of new springs, just stock replacement, because everything else is brand new. You know, might as well get new stuff. So we'll check the price, see if the owner's cool with switching over. And
He probably will be.
he probably will be.
He wants all new suspension.
Yeah.
And the stock rear springs are really not expensive. So.
Right. I think that's going to be it for tonight. We'll be back, and we'll be installing the engine here in the next couple of seconds for you. All right, guys, we're back. We're going to be dropping the engine in today. Let me go ahead and show you the little bit of progress that we made kind of off camera throughout some of the days that we had some free time. So as you can see, we have wheels on the car. These actually are just kind of spare wheels that was on another build that's currently here. But we have the 5-lug swap done. The struts are in. All the front suspension's hooked up and everything. We put the stock rack back in because the owner didn't want to buy a new rack. But we're going to go ahead and drop the engine in today. We have the engine pulled out here, just kind of doing the last little bit of stuff that we can do on the stand before we drop it in, just to make things easier. Dad just put this block off plate on. What is this block off plate for? What's this called?
Fuel pump block off plate is for a mechanical fuel pump.
Oh.
That's the way all, like mechanical fuel pumps are. Even on the old school Chevrolets, they would bolt to the side of the timing cover, and there's a big round like cam, fuel pump cam that bolts to the front of the timing chain cam gear. Okay. And it kind of it's oblong, So
never seen one of those. So that's a pretty nice block off plate.
Yeah, I bought it because obviously this motor was set up for a carburetor from Ford Performance. So we had to change the water pump. Yeah. And also block that off so we can use all the factory pulleys.
Yep. So it's all assembled up under here. All the rockers are on and everything. We wanted to make sure we took this off, and we saw some awesome link bar style lifters. If you notice these dimples, I actually just did this. This is something that mechanics in the old school days used to do when gasket material wasn't all that good, or when they just used silicone. This kind of, you take a punch and just every so often, like every ½ inch or every 3/4 of an inch or so, just tap it in, kind of knock it out, give it a little bit of a rise, and that just helps the silicone kind of grab onto it. So you do it on this part of the block and then on the front over here. Learned that from Dad. So you used to have a few cars that didn't have this done, and they would just run the silicone would blow out. So now you dimple it, silicone grabs to this, and silicone doesn't blow out anymore. So pretty nice old school tip. And when you do it, just kind of make sure you don't get any metal shavings inside of the lifter valley, or whatever engine you're working on. Just make sure no metal shavings get in there. But we're going to be taking this thing, putting it on the lift here soon, and go ahead and drop it in, get the headers on, and then start assembling. Probably put the lower intake on, start assembling the accessories on the front of the motor, maybe get the radiator in, just a few things like that. Some of the accessory brackets we don't have cleaned up and painted, so we'll probably wait on some of those, but really this thing's ready to go in, and we have most of the parts to get it running. We're going to be doing fuel system on it, going to be doing a few different things, so we don't have the fuel lines and all that just yet, so it's going to be a little bit, but we're going to go ahead and get the engine dropped in. Okay, Dad has the engine here ready to take off of the stand. He kind of buttoned up some of the last little bit. I didn't mention these little dimples that I put on the block here. You also need to do that on the bottom of your lower intake. That's always a good idea, just so that gasket doesn't move from either the top or the bottom. I also got all the brackets painted up. Some of the other stuff that we needed to paint, like the fan for the alternator, pulley and whatnot, and all the bolts as well. We went with the flat black. It's like a satin or something like that, but that'll look good all over with the black brackets whenever we have those, and these silver brackets here. Okay, we went ahead and put the motor mounts on. We think it's going to be easier to line that bolt up just this way instead of having to line both of those holes up on both sides. So went ahead and put those on, got it in the air, ready to go in, and we're just going to throw her in there. Okay, engine is sitting in the car. We're going to go ahead and snug up the bolts so it can sit in here freely without really putting stress on the bolts. Once we put the transmission in, we'll have to loosen up the bolts, first of all, so we can kind of get it rocked back a little bit. And then these mounts actually have play left and right. So once we get the transmission in and the transmission mounted up to the car, then we'll know exactly left or right where the engine needs to go. But for now, we pretty much just kind of lined it up with the center, which is like that hole right there. And it looks like it's pretty centered. So went in there not too bad, right?
Not bad.
We did have to switch the motor mounts around. They weren't labeled left and right, and we quickly figured out that we were going to have some clearance issue on the racks lines with the oil pan. But switching the mounts over to the other side definitely helped.
Yep. Line them right up.
So that didn't go too bad. Barely had to lift the hood. Man, it might clear a stock hood with an intake.
Well,
I know it's not supposed to.
Well, with this cradle, it might sit lower.
Yeah. It looks, it looks pretty much like, a 302.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even going to be running these valve covers, which, that's not the tallest point. The tallest point is going to be the intake.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
I don't know. Looks good in there.
Once we set it on there, we'll know.
Yep. So we're going to get this all finished and buttoned up. Probably not going to be putting any of the accessory brackets on that I painted up today. That'll probably come maybe in the next few days or something when he's got some free time. But
Yeah, let them dry, overnight or so.
But he's going to be working on that LS build, which if you haven't seen any videos on that, click right up here. I'll link the last video up there in the corner. That's actually the engine that's going in it. It's a 416 cubic inch. That's pretty funny. This thing's going to have a bigger motor than that Camaro over there. That's going to do it for this video. We're going to go ahead and get these bolts tightened up, get the engine sit in there, and then take the rest of the Sunday off because we've been working all week. But thank you all so much for watching. If you want to see more on this car and you like the build and you like the videos that we've been creating on it, hit the like button. It really helps me out. Subscribe if you're new, and subscribe if you want to see some more of these builds, some more of this other projects that we have going on. I'm really eager to get this thing done because as soon as we're done with this, then we can actually start working on my car in the free time. That's going to be the next fun project. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch y'all in another video.